Hey everyone, it's Caitlin and welcome to another video. If you're new here, I make simple and delicious vegan recipes. Today I'm showing you 3 different Asian inspired takeout recipes because I don't know about you guys, I've been trying to save as much money as I can. And while I love a good takeout meal every once in a while, I also love making it from home, and you save a lot of money. You end up paying like about the same for the ingredients, but you can make like 2 to 3 times what you would get in a normal takeout entree. So I guarantee there's a little bit of something for everyone. All of the recipes will be linked in the description of this video, so be sure to check them out and save them for later as well. Before we get into the recipes, I'd like to thank Whiskey for sponsoring this video. Whiskey makes high quality glassware, barware, and everything you need to make fantastic drinks. I love how everything is both super aesthetically pleasing and also great quality, like my 7-piece barware essential set made from stainless steel and lead-free crystal. They also have so many glass options like these Bow Lowball tumblers, which are thick and sturdy, and these Aurora cocktail tumblers, which are great for wine, cocktails, or even iced coffee. Stay tuned to the end of the video where I'm going to show you how you can make this delicious cocktail or mocktail using Whiskey's products, or click the link in the description of this video and use code Caitlin15 for a 15% discount site-wide. Or you could do both. I'm not gonna stop you, but first let's get on to the recipes. First up, we'll be making some teriyaki tofu, which is a classic takeout staple for us. I absolutely love teriyaki tofu, and once I found out how easy it was to make at home, we've been making it all the time. We're going to start by tearing some extra firm tofu. You can cut it into chunks if you want, but I personally prefer to tear my tofu now. It definitely adheres to sauce and our other crispy elements more, and I also feel like it gives it more of a realistic meaty texture. So if you haven't tried it yet, I highly suggest you trying it out. I just tossed it with some oil and soy sauce, which you saw, and now we're tossing in some cornstarch and mixing until it's pretty evenly distributed. Next, just transfer this to a baking tray. My baking tray is non-stick, but if yours isn't, you might want to line it with parchment paper or use a silicone mat to make sure it gets extra crispy. So we're going to bake that in the oven for about 30 minutes total, and while that's crisping up, we can make our sauce. We're using some water, soy sauce, a little bit of mirin, brown sugar, and cornstarch, which is going to help thicken everything up. So just whisk this until the cornstarch is nice and dissolved, because we don't want any clumps in our sauce, and set aside. Next, for the sauce, we're going to warm some toasted sesame oil in a skillet and add in some garlic and ginger. I like using fresh garlic and ginger because it really adds more brightness to the teriyaki sauce and gives it a stronger garlic and ginger flavor. And it really makes a difference in my opinion, so I think it's worth the little extra effort. Add in that teriyaki sauce that we whisked together before, and then we're just going to bring this to a simmer, stirring occasionally until the sauce has thickened to your liking. At this point, our tofu is done, and we can add it to the sauce. Look how crispy it is. And we're going to finish everything off with some green onions and toasted sesame seeds. You can just add those with the tofu. Stir it all with the sauce until the green onions are slightly wilted, and then you are ready to enjoy. This is slightly extra saucy, so you can serve it on top of plain vegetables as well. It's like sticky, sweet, savory. The tofu is still crispy, but some of that cornstarch coating also absorbs the sauce, so it's just super delicious. And I love to top it with an abundance of more sesame seeds because honestly, I can never have enough sesame flavor. Next up, we're going to be making my take on a vegan pad thai. Pad thai is a very classic Thai street food that is normally very fish sauce heavy. So I did some research. This recipe is not authentic, but I tried to make it as close to the original recipe as possible. We're starting by combining some vegan soy sauce, a vegetarian fish sauce, and some tamarind concentrate with a little bit of water. And we're going to be using this for our pad thai sauce, but I just like to make it first so it's ready when you want to add it. Now, most pad thai is served with animal protein, but it's also traditionally served with tofu. So for my variation, I am doubling the tofu content, so we still get a good amount of plant-based protein. So I am pan frying my tofu in my stainless steel wok. If you want to, you can choose to bake the tofu, but for this recipe and to make it more authentic, I just found it easier to pan fry everything. But if you prefer for it to be more hands-off, you can totally bake it as well, or even make my oil-free crispy tofu. Now for the actual pad thai, we're going to warm some more oil in the skillet and add some shallot, garlic, and chili flakes, which are optional, but I like a little spicy, to the pan and saute until the garlic starts to brown. This part is optional, but I like to add in some extra veggies for more color, so I'm adding in some thinly sliced carrot and red bell pepper here. You're gonna saute these for a few minutes minutes until the red pepper and carrot start to become more tender, because you don't want crunchy veggies in your pad thai. Next up, you're going to push all of your veggies to the side to create some space in the wok. And here I'm melting some chopped up palm sugar into my wok and adding that sauce that we whisked together earlier. So pad thai sauce is traditionally made with palm sugar. It's normally made in a separate pan, but for my version, I'm making it all in the same pan just to make it a little bit easier and more weeknight dinner friendly. But that being said, if you can't find access to palm sugar, I have substitution notes on the blog where you can use brown sugar or coconut sugar as well. Then we're going to add our soaked rice noodles to our dish. I like to add them directly over the sauce and toss it with the sauce first, and then mix them in with the rest of the veggies. Add in your crispy tofu, then we're just going to mix everything together pretty well and simmer this until most of the sauce has sort of absorbed into the noodles and the liquid has evaporated from the pan. The final step here, I like to turn the heat off for this step, is to add in some bean sprouts, and I'm using garlic chives, which are more traditional for pad thai. They're kind of a cross between a chive and garlic, but a good sub is to also use sliced green onions, which you'll find, I feel like, in most restaurants in the US. So you can totally do that as well. So as you can see, there are no peanuts in the actual noodle part of the dish, but they are used as a garnish, and I personally love the crunchy, fatty, nutty element that they add. So you can serve your pad thai up with some extra bean sprouts, garlic chives on the side. Top it off with your crushed peanuts and serve with a lime wedge on the side. I like to drizzle my noodles with the lime wedge. It really ups the acidity in the dish and makes the flavors taste even more bright. Next up, we're going to be making sweet and sour tofu, which is more of a Chinese recipe. You can actually find this in China in the street food. And it's very interesting because the main ingredient is ketchup, but we'll get to that in a second. First, I'm going to oven bake my tofu as opposed to pan fry because that is a method that I personally prefer. Again, just like the teriyaki tofu, we tossed it with soy sauce and oil. Now we're adding in our cornstarch. I did cube it for this one because I think that's more of the traditional preparation, but if you want to, you can tear your tofu for this recipe as well. Place your tofu on a baking sheet, and again, it's gonna be about 30 minutes, flipping halfway. And now for our sweet and sour sauce. Like I said earlier, the base is actually ketchup, which adds a nice glossy sheen to the sauce. It also adds a lot of umami flavor from the tomatoes in it. We're making it a little bit more tangy with some rice vinegar and Shaoxing wine. And then we're also going to add some cornstarch, which is going to help thicken the sauce as well. There's also soy sauce in there, which I think I forgot to mention. And then we're just gonna thin our sauce out a little bit with water because this recipe, we're sauteing it with other veggies. So we wanna make sure our sauce coats every bite. So now for the actual stir fry, we're going to warm oil in our wok and add in some garlic and ginger, saute until it starts to slightly brown. Then we're going to add in some diced onion, red bell pepper, and green bell pepper. Personally, I like the green bell pepper in this recipe because the sauce is so sweet that it complements it really well. But if you don't like it, you can leave it out. As you can see here, I forgot to film a little bit, but we're adding in some fresh pineapple and our sauce. Then we're just going to mix everything together, simmer the sauce for a little bit so the alcohol can cook off. Then we'll add in our tofu, stir it into the sauce again until everything is nice and evenly coated. And as a garnish, I like to sprinkle a few sesame seeds on top, plus some green onions for an extra pop of color. So then it's ready to serve. Look at how juicy the pineapple looks, the tofu. This is so delicious. I was a little extra and made a pineapple bowl and served it over rice, but you know, you could totally use a normal bowl too. Last but certainly not least, we're making some gochujang tofu, which is a Korean inspired dish. I feel like gochujang is a super trendy ingredient right now, and I wanted to make it into sort of saucy Korean Chinese fusion takeout inspired dish. It's definitely not traditional, but this is so delicious. You guys really want to try it out. Again, just like all of our other recipes, we're going to start by tearing our tofu, adding it to a bowl, tossing it with some oil and some soy sauce, and then add your cornstarch. Mix again, and then transfer it to a baking sheet, making sure to spread the pieces out. Again, we're going to bake this for about 30 minutes, and while it's in the oven, we're going to make our sauce. So the main base of our sauce is gochujang. We're also adding some soy sauce, some cane sugar, ground ginger, cornstarch, and water. Whisk all of this up and we'll set it aside. Then we're going to work on our aromatics in a pan. You can warm some oil, then add green onion, garlic, and gochujaru, which are Korean chili flakes. It makes it spicier. These are optional if you prefer a more mild dish. So bring this to a simmer and cook it down until it's thickened. And then once your tofu is done baking in the oven, you can mix everything together until the tofu is well coated. And then to finish it off, we're going to stir in some green onions, some toasted sesame seeds, and some toasted sesame oil to round out the umami flavor. Just like the other recipes, I typically serve this over rice with some steamed broccoli on the side, but you can really serve it with anything you want. I actually had it over noodles last week and it was really delicious too. All right, guys, those are all of the recipes. I hope you enjoy them. Leave a comment down below. Tell me which one you're going to make first, or if you have any other recipe or video theme requests for the future. These recipes are great for like an easy weeknight dinner where you would have ordered takeout, but I also think they can be great for date night too, which is why I wanted to share a cocktail recipe that would be great as sort of drink before the cooking or drink while you're cooking. The flavors will complement well. We're going to be making a green tea ginger mule, a sort of my little twist on a Moscow mule, but with green tea, which adds a nice earthy flavor and umami, slightly bitter element. To make this cocktail, we're first going to muddle half a lime with a few slices of fresh ginger, then add in 1.5 ounces of vodka and 1.5 ounces of green tea concentrate. Top off with ice and shake well, then strain into a glass and top off with ginger kombucha or ginger beer, a lime slice, stir and enjoy. And if you want to make this a mocktail instead of a cocktail, I would just replace the vodka. You can either use a 0 proof alternative, which adds some flavor and bitterness typically, or you can just replace it with more ginger beer or ginger kombucha. Personally, if you're making a mocktail, I'd probably go with the ginger kombucha because I feel like it has more depth of flavor and more things going on. So it'll make the mocktail sort of have more flavor elements and still be more interesting. Because I know sometimes a lot of mocktails are just like soda and sugar. So it adds more flavor elements that you would normally get with a cocktail. The recipe for this will just be typed out in the description of the video, so be sure to check that out. And again, thank you so much to Whiskey for sponsoring this video. Be sure to use code Caitlin15 to get 15% off of their website. You can get these glasses, or if they're not your style or they are your style and you want something else, check it out. They have so many different options. They have a great barware essentials sets. This would be great if you're moving into a new apartment, or for Mother's Day, a birthday, for anyone who's interested in sort of diving into drinks, cocktail making, or mocktail making a little bit more. That's all I have for today. I hope you all are doing well, and I look forward to virtually seeing you in a future video. Bye.